It's Jethro at No Coast Business Advisors, and here is our second episode of Business Owners for Business Owners. If you want to participate in these conversations in the future, if you got questions that you want us to ask our people, feel free to hit us up in the comments, hit us up on our Facebook pages, LinkedIn, YouTube, and all that other fun stuff. So today, we're going to be interviewing Paige, and she is the owner of Strictly Business Omaha and Strictly Business Lincoln. So Paige, why don't you tell us a little about who you are and what your business does?
Fantastic. Well, Strictly Business, we started the Lincoln magazine 26 years ago, expanded into the Omaha market 13 years ago. Two separate publications. Lincoln, we mail out 10,000 copies of the magazine out to area businesses. Omaha, we mail 15,000 copies. In each market, we have an additional 1,000 copies that we hand distribute to doctors' offices, professional plazas, executive centers. Basically, the mission of the magazine is to educate the local marketplace about primarily our advertisers. It's just a great opportunity for our advertisers to really get some wonderful exposure and educate the community more about who they are, what sets them apart, why you'd want to do business with them. So it's a monthly publication, and it's read by business owners as well as the employees within the office. It has a very long shelf life, gets passed around throughout the office for employees to share with one another.
Fantastic. What was life like before you got into Strictly Business way back then? Was that, now, if I remember correctly, there was a partner in the beginning, wasn't there?
Well, okay, so we started Strictly Business Lincoln. My husband's the one that actually started the company originally. It was called Captive Indoor Advertising, and what it was billboard advertising in restroom stalls. So that's how we originally started. He had his business partner for a very, very short period of time, and then bought him out for $1, and then went into a publication or a media source called Green Mailer, which is a direct mail coupon book that was mailed to households. And kind of through that, we had so many different people in the community, business leaders and business owners in the community, that said what the Lincoln marketplace really needed was a local business publication that reported on local business news, really gave a voice to small business. So that's really was the mission originally, is just to try to kind of help small to medium-sized businesses get their information out there, let the community know more about who they are, what they do, how they can help their business.
Okay. What made you decide to start your business? Before you became an owner and you were out doing what Paige does?
Well, honestly, my husband really was more of the entrepreneur than I was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would have ever had the actual guts to start a business from the very ground up, but he started it. I came on board about month 3. And his goal was more to get the magazine up and running, and once it was profitable, to sell it and then move on to another business venture. I started working there, loved the magazine, loved what we did. So I kind of said, this is my dream job, let me run it. Unfortunately, at that time, I'm kind of a little bit bossy, so it was really hard for us to work together. And so, as he always says, I kicked him out and he went and started another business, and I took it over and I've been running it since then. So he actually is back in the company now, works part-time for us, does a great job. We get along really good because he recognizes my strengths and I recognize his strengths, and they're very different. So, but he's just there part-time. So
that's good. It's good, and that story goes out a lot too, where the couple's working together and then they're not,
yeah.
And then down the road they can work it out again.
Oh yes.
So when he was trying to start the business, when he was trying to get it up and running, because I'm assuming you were the moral support during that phase.
Yes.
How did he go about making it happen?
Well, I mean, one thing I guess it's kind of nice is both of us grew up on ranches.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how familiar you are with ranch life, but ranchers work basically about 350 days a year is probably what most ranchers work. So they get very, very little time off. And also, most ranchers work about 10 to 14 hours a day. So hard work was just something that both of us had grown up with. So,
okay.
So I think that was a lot of the strength of us getting the magazine off the ground, is that, you know, he would work until 2 or 3 in the morning pretty much every night, and that was just the way it was done.
Okay.
So, and then, financing wise, we didn't really get a loan or anything. We started our business with credit cards back in the days when you could get 0% interest. And I'm really good with money. I'm really good with numbers. That's one of my strengths. And so I was managing about 5 or 6 credit cards. So every time the interest rate would go up, I'd switch cards. So we were able to manage the business. Now, we advised a couple of our friends what we were doing, and one of them ended up going bankrupt over it. So it's definitely something that you've got to really know what you're doing, and you've got to really, really be on it, because you get a few late payments or missed payments or things like that, and you can really get upside down pretty quickly.
Yep,
so.
There'll be no more 0% rollovers at that point.
Yeah.
So when was this the first business your husband started?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, in college he'd had a few little minor things that he'd done, but yeah, this was pretty much the first business.
Okay. So everybody's first business, and even for people like me who have done it more than once, there's always a wall of fear.
Oh yeah.
In between the time where you're thinking about doing it, and in between the time you're thinking about doing it and you actually get it started, you have to get past this wall that you mentally build for yourself. So how did you guys get past that with starting this?
Well, I think a lot of it was he was getting his MBA at the university. His family had a ranch. It was a 5th generation ranch, so he was the first one to ever leave the ranch. That's one thing when we were dating. I grew up in a small town. Loved it growing up, but I knew once I graduated I wanted to live in a bigger city. I did not want to have to drive 40 miles to the grocery store.
Yep.
And so I think that was a lot of it. Is just there was just that sheer determination. He's a pretty strong-willed person, so once he puts his mind to something, he's going to make it happen. So, but there was definitely many times where it was really challenging and really hard, and we didn't make any money the first year. As a matter of fact, I don't wear it anymore, but I have a ring, a ruby ring that was $328, I think is how much this ring cost. But he gave it to me for Christmas the first year after we'd started our business, and he's like, this is your salary for the whole year. And I mean, literally that was because I didn't take a paycheck. But I had worked at Gallup before, which was an awesome experience. I mean, it was a great company to work for. I learned a lot of stuff that really helped us with the business. And I've always been a really, really good saver ever since I was just, a small child. And so I had saved, I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather went through the Depression. So I really had that mentality of savings and with money and everything. And so he had taught me that you have to save 50% of everything you make. So the whole time I worked at Gallup, I had put away 50% of whatever I made. And so we had a pretty good savings account when we started the business. And so we didn't take anything out for the first year. We put everything back into the company and just reinvested to get it off the ground.
That's great. And that seems to be a recurring theme on these videos that I'm doing with you guys, you and the other business owners, has been, you bootstrapped it, the company financed itself, you didn't make any money the first couple of years. And that's things that a lot of entrepreneurs and people that are going to be starting up as business owners need to understand. Right. Is the stuff you see on Instagram and the stuff you see on Facebook, it's like wrapping an empty box for a Christmas present. That's not the way starting up a business really is. You're going to struggle. When they say the struggle is real, they're not lying.
Oh, most definitely.
So what made you decide on this particular business? I mean, out of all the choices of all the businesses you could have started, you and him, why this one?
Well, I think a lot of it, first of all, his MBA was in marketing, so he wanted something in marketing. Looking for something that you could start on a shoestring, so something that you didn't have to have a huge amount of investment. Like I said, the Green Mailer, which was the direct mail coupon book that we first started, that was something that was pretty low cost to get going. But this really came down to just so many people in the marketplace said there was a need in the market. There wasn't anybody that was really reporting on local business news, and so just being able to give a voice to those small businesses, I think, and then because I had that market research background, we asked so many people, not only advertisers but also readers. What do you like? what do you want to see? What changes could we make? So we were constantly looking at things that we could do that the community wanted for the publication. So we looked at it as their magazine and not ours, and really took that approach. And I think that that's what really paid off.
Okay. And for those of you that have never read Strictly Business magazine, its format is, for about the first third to half of it, it is basically announcements, press releases. Sorry, see, semi-live, so the words don't always come to me, but they're press releases that different businesses write and put out. The middle section is basically general business and advertising columns and interviews with the local business owners, kind of like what I'm doing except in print. And the back third of the magazine is whatever that issue is focused on, whether it's senior care or whether it's landscape or vacation or whatever. And the articles are put together by the business owners that the Strictly Business girls interview. And I tell you what, they do a fantastic job with their questions, with just leading us all along, because most of us are not writers and we have trouble putting two coherent sentences together in writing on any given day. And these ladies walk us through it. So if you've never read Strictly Business, take time, pick one up, glance through it. It's a fantastic magazine. So at what point in your career did you guys decide it was time to hire employees?
Well, we pretty much had to have employees right away because the interesting thing is I'm in the publishing world. I can't write and I can't design. I'm actually really bad with computers. I mean, technology is not my thing. So
I'm the same way.
People always laugh because they're like, you're in publishing. But I came from a little bit different background. I'm the salesperson. So most people that do a magazine like this, most of the time they're an editor or they're a graphic design person. Well, I came from it more from a sales background, but I think in some ways that's really paid off because I look at everything that's done from a sales perspective and also from the client's perspective. So, I mean, I'm always looking at everything of what can help the client. So even as the publication, I mean, that's one of the things that we're always about focusing on the clients. I mean, it's never, we were just at the chamber trade show. And, you know, our whole goal there was not to promote Strictly Business, it was to promote our clients. And so that's really, I think, part of what has been the success of it is that we're always trying to look for our clients. But we had employees right away, but the employees that we had, like our first art director was my brother, who was self-taught. I mean, he, you know, worked on it at night. We had another gentleman named Mike Brannigan, who a lot of people in the community know way back when he used to be here. He actually now owns a construction magazine in Denver, so he's done extremely well for himself. But he was one of the first employees that we had, and Mike was just one of those individuals that worked tirelessly to really help us get it off the ground, worked for very, very little pay. I mean, we paid terrible back then. And, you know, the hours, I mean, we would, when it was time for deadline, we would work all day selling, and then we would start on production after 5 o'clock and work until 2 or 3 in the morning. And then be back at the office again the next day at 8 to do it again so that we could get the magazine going. So, you know, those first couple years we had some friends and some relatives and things like that worked for us. And I think they really bought into the mission. They really loved what we were doing and liked to be a part of the startup. So we were fortunate there.
That's fantastic. What have been some of your biggest challenges with the business through the years?
Oh gosh, there's been a lot. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges then and still to this day is just balancing home life and work, and then having enough time. You know, I think I feel like 26 years I've been doing the magazine, and I feel like I'm still working pretty much as hard as I did, maybe even harder than I did when I started out, you know. So I think that part is a challenge of just, you know, not having enough of me to go around. You know, I always watch those shows where people clone themselves, and I think, gosh, I wish I could have another
I could do that.
Another me, you know, to do stuff. But also with any business, I think when you have employees, I mean, a huge challenge is employees. You know, finding good employees, keeping good employees. I mean, we've been very, very blessed over the years to have a lot of amazing people work for us. One thing that's been really cool too is to see the number of people that have worked with us over the years that now own their own businesses that are entrepreneurs. So I think not too long ago I counted it, and I think there was like 13 or something like that previous employees that have went out and started their own business and been very successful at it. So that's a challenge, because whenever you see somebody that's great, and then you lose them, I mean, that's hard. But at the same time, I'm always so excited for them, because I know that's what's best for them. And I think that kind of I probably tend to look for people that have a little bit of that type of a personality. Yep. So.
Well, it's always good that you lose them to their dreams and not to another business.
Exactly.
You start using that in your hiring ads.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
What were a few of the things that took you by surprise? Things you didn't know in advance, kind of snuck up on you, and just kind of knocked you around a bit.
Oh gosh.
Every business owner has their horror stories about stuff like that I didn't even know that was a thing.
I think, probably I didn't know how hard it would be, when we first started out. I mean, I remember the first year, the number of businesses that I'd go in to speak to, and they'd say, well, we'll see if you're going to make it. Other people have tried this. They haven't been successful. I'm sure that, you won't make it. But if you're still here in a year, call me. And it was just like, oh my gosh, somebody give me a chance. So I think that was probably a little bit of a challenge, and something that I didn't think I expected that it'd be that hard to start out with. But I think the other thing on the positive side of just how receptive, it's so cool when I'm out and about and I hear a story from somebody and they talk about a success, or somebody that they read about and they found out about them through the magazine, or somebody that, particularly on some of the small businesses that we've really helped their business grow, and some of the successes they've had, or employees they found through the magazine, or just any number of things. I think that's one thing that to me is just so rewarding, and it's so fun to know that, particularly your small to medium-sized businesses, that they really appreciate the efforts that you give. Also, I think the other thing that's really something I didn't maybe expect is the relationships that I would have with so many of my clients. I have so many clients that are truly friends, and people that you really care about. And, I remember not too long ago I called a business, and the proprietor that I'd worked with previously had passed away. And I found myself, getting choked up, and it was just like, oh my gosh, so it's just like those relationships that you form with people over the years that you don't even really realize that you're going to get that close to them.
Yep, not until they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, what effect did becoming a business owner have on your personal life?
Oh gosh, that is definitely, I think, one of the things that a lot of people don't expect when they have a business. I think it's really challenging because, and this could be a little bit to my personality, I am just very focused on my business. So I tend to, I eat, breathe, and live my business in a lot of ways. And so sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge, because I even have had a couple friends that, have commented, that they don't want to talk about business, or, when we're out and about. Like, I remember one time when I was on a vacation and I kept bringing up business things, and my one friend made the comment, she's like, I don't want to talk about business, I'm away from work, I don't want to think about this. And it made me kind of realize how much, but I do, it's like, it's my passion. I got ideas, I'd see a billboard, or I'd see something, I'm like, oh, this would be great, this would be a great idea to take back to a client, or wow, this would be really cool. And so it was just kind of interesting to me. Or like another friend that I went on a trip with one time, we were talking, and it was really interesting to me of how much her business was more just a financial mechanism for her. It's just like,
it was a tool.
It was a tool, yeah. And like just some of the things we started talking about, and to me that was really interesting, because I have such a connection with my business that, getting rid of it, it's like, okay, that would be a challenge. It'd be hard for me because I'm just so connected to it. So, and even like the other thing is my employees. I tend to have a lot of friendships with my employees, and so that's one thing that I think is always kind of a challenge, is sometimes separating, work with, because that's who I work around all the time. So. And unfortunately, I keep getting older and my employees keep getting younger, so there's a little bit more of an age gap between my employees now than before. So, but I guess I said it just keeps me young. So.
Yep. Yeah. You are the people you hang out with.
Exactly.
So, yep. So, and that's thinking back on that question, your answer, that is the two basic types of business owners, is the ones that treat it as a tool, a mechanism for financial gain, and the ones that are incredibly passionate about it. And for both of them, they're going to eat, breathe, and sleep their business. And that's the primary reason why I keep asking this question if everybody sits down with us, because most people that aren't in the culture don't understand what you have to sacrifice when this takes over your life.
Almost definitely. Yeah.
So that's why I asked that one, and I'm always interested in the responses I get to that one, because you can tell you can kind of tell which ones are the tool and the passion people,
Well, and it's funny that you said it, because I always get this when I'm meeting with somebody that's a brand new business, or somebody that's thinking about opening a business, or particularly spouses of people that are looking and starting their business. And the one thing that people always say that just cracks me up so much is they'll make the comment, well, I just can't wait to have my own business because I can go on vacation whenever I want, I can work whenever I want, if I want to take the day off, I can. It's like, well, do you want to be successful? I mean, no, honestly, I really think that business owners probably work way harder than people that don't own their own business. I mean, I think that, one of the things that I always tell people, if you want to start your own business, one of the first things I think you need to look at is truly your work ethic. I mean, and I think that really is part of it too, is I love to work. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I really I used to waitress. I loved waitressing. I thought it was the most fun job ever. I mean, I enjoyed it, where some people are like, what, so I did retail. I thought retail was so boring because it was great in December, but when it wasn't busy, the gap seasons, I was so bored because I want a business that's very, very fast paced. I wanted to always be doing stuff. I don't want to sit around. That's not something I enjoy. And I think that's one of the things that I really, when I'm talking to somebody that's thinking about starting a business, it's like, what's your work ethic? Because if you really are the type of person that you really don't want to work that hard, you just want to make a lot of money.
I want the vacation time.
Yeah, I always say, maybe you really shouldn't own your own business. Just go into sales or something where you can, make a lot of money. And but if you really don't want to work really hard, you probably don't want to own your own business.
I don't want to own my own business. I want to own my own business that'll be there in 10 years. That's where I want to own my own business. Let's skip the first 10. That's where I want to be. Exactly. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Oh. But how do you find clients, Paige? Did you go out and... I think you're a lot like me, where it's a whole lot... We're more the older school kind, where we build it, connections and phone and in person. How do you find your clients?
Well, most of my clients actually, fortunately, now come from referrals. So I have some great referral partners that send me leads all the time. But other than that, most of them come from networking. I'm very connected in a lot of different Chamber, LIBA, BNI, Centersphere, all those different groups. So I've been in those groups over the years. And so a lot of them come from referrals, and a lot of them come from just networking. But I'm definitely very much old school. I don't email people. I call them, and I schedule an appointment. I want to meet everybody face to face. I want to get to know my clients. I've even had people call me in the past that said, I want to run an ad, I want to, be an advertiser, and I'll say, well, I need to come and meet with you, and they've said, no, I don't need to meet with you. I know we want to advertise, and it's like, well, I need to meet with you. Yep. Because that's, I think, one thing that does set us apart is I really want to get to know them. I want to build that relationship so that I can help them grow their business.
Yep.
And quite honestly, there are some people that I don't necessarily want to work with, because if they're not somebody that really does a great job with their clients, with their employees, values, all those things, doesn't run an ethical, honest business, that's not somebody that I really, because I look at what I do is I'm out there promoting these businesses, and so I want to make sure that the people that are in the magazine are good, reputable companies. So I think that's something that's maybe a little bit unique. I really do try to have that personal relationship with as many of my clients as I possibly can.
Yeah. And it's like any other long-term relationship, whether it's business, personal, what have you. You don't want to be tied to somebody for an extended period of time if you don't like them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can make money off it.
Right.
Guys, don't get me wrong. You can make money off it.
Right.
But if it makes you miserable, are you making enough money off it?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Paige, you do a ton of marketing, ton of advertising. You are one of the most well-known marketing and advertising people here in Lincoln. What's your best piece of marketing advice for someone that's starting out?
Well, I think quite a few things. I mean, first of all, show up. Be there. I mean, get involved. Join the chamber. Join LIBA. Join Sinister Group or BNI Group or P&G. Or there's a whole bunch of great organizations to get involved with. So show up. The other thing is don't always be looking at your business. I mean, don't be trying to constantly be promoting your business, but trying to help other people. I think it's BNI that has the giver's gain, but I mean, it's really true. You know, when you try to help other people, and you know, whenever I am meeting with a business, I'm always listening for things that they need, services that they need, and trying to connect them with other people. And it's amazing how when you connect somebody to another person, that person really appreciates it. But then there's a certain sense of when you give something to someone, they want to do something nice back to you. And so I think that that's really important. I think the other thing is, you know, doing what you say you're going to do, like kind of the old adage, over deliver, under promise, over deliver. You know, it's like, I think that's so important. It's so funny when I meet with people and I'm this and I'm that, and, you know, it's just like, okay, you know, it's like my mom used to always say, if you're pretty, you don't have to tell anybody that they can see it. I mean, it's just kind of that same concept. I mean, it's like you don't really have to tell people how great you are. My goal is always to get other people to talk about how great our company is. I am very, very fortunate to have amazing, amazing employees. And so that's one of the things, you know, of really just promoting my employees, building my employees up. They do a great job of that for me. But I think the other thing too is, as business owners, a lot of times people don't want to, like obviously with our magazine, the big thing we offer is free press releases, and we'll write them for them and everything. And so I have a lot of clients that are like, well, I don't want to brag about myself, or I don't want to tell people what I do. And I always educate them, you know, you need to let people know what you're doing. You know, if you're moving into new space, or you're won an award, or you're hired a new person, anything like that you do, you need to let the community know. You need to get that message out there. So that's one of the things I always tell my clients is take advantage of every opportunity that you have. Anytime you can get in front of a group, like I hardly ever turn down a speaking engagement, because you just never know where that could lead. I mean, I've spoke to high schools or college classes, and it's amazing how sometimes 6-8 years later, a student that was in that class is now working at a company, and they remembered, you know, my presentation, and as crazy as it is, and you know, they'll recommend me to come in and to talk to their company. So just taking advantage of every opportunity that you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there. Just go get it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get into some of the, we're going to shift gears a little bit here and get into more of the business nuts and bolts stuff.
Okay.
So for your business, what kind of corporate structure do you use?
Well,
like S Corp, LLC?
Okay. We have two different businesses. One's an S Corp and one's a C Corp.
Okay.
So Strictly Business Lincoln is one entity, and Strictly Business Omaha is another entity.
Okay. Is there a particular reason you chose each different structure?
Well,
because we see these questions a lot, is what corporate structure is right for me? What's the difference? So I like to ask everyone sitting there, why and what?
Strictly Business Lincoln, no, we didn't know what we were doing when we first started, and we just, met with somebody, and that's what we started. But Strictly Business Omaha, we've only had it for 13 years. I had a business partner when we started that, and so we set that up, as a partnership with my business partner. And so we structured that as a S Corp.
Okay.
Because the other one was a C Corp. So.
Gotcha. Okay. What is the biggest marketing questions business owners should ask but don't know to? Because a lot of people, there's kind of two camps of business owners. There's the ones that have some kind of marketing background, they know something about marketing, and there's the ones that have no freaking idea, but they know how to run their business.
Right.
So, for the non-marketing people, what's the biggest question they should ask?
Well, I don't know if this is the question they should ask, but something that they should know or think about. One of the mistakes that I see a lot of people making in marketing is they do marketing based on what they themselves do. So I'll use radio as a good example. I remember I used to work for a cleaning company a number of years ago before we started this business. And I worked for this cleaning company, and so they did radio. They did a hard rock radio station. And so the owner, I'm like, no, we should not be advertising on this station. And he's like, this is the station I listen to. All my friends listen to it. He's like, I get great feedback from my friends. They all say how great the commercial is. They hear it all the time. And so I just kept telling them, I'm like, okay, that's great. Your friends hear it, but are your friends buying high-end commercial cleaning, window cleaning? Is that the service? Well, no. And so I hear that a lot of times with other clients, that they will use media sources of something that they themselves personally use, but it might not be something that matches their audience. So I think that's one of the things that you really need to do is look at media, whatever you're going to do as is your client that you're trying to reach. Another thing kind of along those same lines is oftentimes I find, and this is probably a little bit more with professionals, but doctors, attorneys, your more highly professional technology companies, when they're doing their messaging for their advertising, they're talking to their peers. So they don't want to sound stupid. And so I have one client that he was in the technology field, and the verbiage that he used was this big, long, it's like, what is this? And we were at a chamber after hours event one night, and he introduced himself and what he did, and this there was this group of people there, and this one lady was like, oh, wow, that's impressive. And I know him really well, so I said to the girl, I said, so do you have any idea what he does? And she's like, absolutely no clue. And so I said to him, I said, see, this is what I've been trying to tell you. I said, you're not trying to sell to your peers, you're trying to sell to business owners. You're trying to sell to people like me. And I said, most people don't want to sound stupid, so they're not going to say, what is that? What he did was a very basic service, but he just used, cloud-based, blah, blah, blah. The average person had no clue. So I think that's a mistake that I see a lot of times. People, is they try to talk to their peers rather than trying to talk to the people that they're trying to sell to. The other thing that I think another mistake that sometimes people make is not being relatable. I think that so many people like to work with real people. If you can make yourself be more of a person rather than a big entity, I think first of all it makes people a lot more loyal, because I think most individuals like to work with a company where they feel like they like you, they trust you. And so that's another thing. I think sometimes people try to be just a little bit too creative, and kind of the same thing on that creative side, sometimes being it's always funny when we watch the Super Bowl commercials, because a lot of times they'll